My parents moved to Lake Murray in South Carolina right after our son was born. He's the oldest grandchild for my parents. And somewhere in the mix, we started rotating holidays. My brother being in Pennsylvania, my sister was in Raleigh. We were in Charlotte. And some years we'd get together at Thanksgiving, and some years we'd get together at Christmas. And we kind of had a rotation thing going. And
When you got to add in the my home too, we also, at the beginning, we're going back and forth there too, which
right on the
right into
opposite
this.
holidays, we'd go to St. Louis because we had Don's family was out there. And somewhere along the line, I want to say it was my nephew Aaron, coined the term Thanksmas because we began when we got together at Thanksgiving. We celebrated Thanksgiving, we celebrated Christmas, we had celebrated some birthdays, including my nephew who was born in early January, and then our youngest born in early January.
Well, and your dad too,
Bad born the end of January. And it just became a thing that it was our Thanksmas. And sometimes it was Christmas. And then my brother got divorced. And so didn't want to take the kids from his mom, their mom. So they would come like after day after or 2 days after Christmas. And yet, someone coined Christgiving, but we just really kind of stuck with Thanksmas. And
Yeah.
it kind of became our family thing. And I remember looking it up a number of years ago and seeing that the term was coined somewhere else. And I'm like, no, my nephew Aaron came
No,
up
no,
with
we did
that.
it. We did that.
And lately we've had to get together in January or end of December because our son works in retail. And Thanksgiving is a crazy busy time for him. And so it hasn't been conducive to him having much time off.
Well,
Um,
and then this year, with your dad passing, we're going to go
so
down in January.
we're renting a place on Lake Murray around the weekend of my dad's birthday, which is January 20th. Um, and our daughter's texting us from New York City about her flight coming into Charlotte. Um, I just had a memory of a story. One year, um, we were celebrating at Sun City. My parents, after they left Lake Murray, they moved to a retirement community in South Carolina. And a couple years back, my mom purchased a murder mystery
Oh yeah.
game, and we had so much fun with this game. Everybody assigned a character, and you had to, figure out who, um, there were cards of cues of what we said. And oh my goodness, the whole family got in character. My brother was down with his girlfriend, who was a former actress, and nieces and nephews. I mean, they had so much fun with their characters. It was just a blast that we enjoyed that thoroughly. My dad was there, but cognitively wasn't fully able to participate, and so he was just kind of standing by while we played this game. Um, so that was kind of a real fun thing that the kids were older that we did. I hope we can do that again sometime. So we're going in January. And so we were joking around about coming up with names because my niece and nephew live in California, and it's more difficult for them to fly out and also to have time with their mom in Pennsylvania. And so I don't know if it was my sister's idea to get together the weekend of my dad's birthday, which falls on a holiday Monday. So our youngest will be off school, and um, celebrate my dad's life, celebrate our Thanksmas there on the lake, and memories of my dad. And so we were joking around. I was calling it Thanks Pa for Grandpa. Someone came up with Pete Moss, which is really funny. My
Yeah.
dad is known by his family as Pete, his middle name. And I don't know, there was another name too, but it'll be different. It's our first holiday without my dad. Unfortunately, the last couple holidays, my dad was either in the hospital or in rehab, um, which was extra challenging and kind of changed the element of festivity. Um, the times he was in and out of the hospital over the past 2 years.
So it's both a kind of a blessing and a
So they left
remembrance.
10 years ago is when they left their retirement home that they built on Lake Murray. Gorgeous home, beautiful space. We spread out with the kids. The second floor had 3 bedrooms and the room over the garage. And we
Oh.
hung out, we played games, we the kids made movies inspired by my brother who did these fun movies with the kids. And then Harrison started trying to direct his cousins and sister in different movie productions that they made. We traditionally would get together once around the holidays and once in the summer. When the kids were young, we'd spend a whole week together. As the kids got older and leaving school was more challenging, the time seemed to get shorter. And it was sad when they sold the house on the lake. It got to be too much for them to take care of. And yet continued traditions. We also play a white elephant game, which because we're Italian, we call it Blanco Elefante. And we wrap up silly gifts and do a white elephant exchange, which, if you're not familiar with that, you wrap a gift and you pick numbers, and the person number one gets to choose a gift. And then number two, and the second person can either steal the gift from the first person or pick their own gift. And you go all the way through, and then you go in reverse. And so there's a rule about how many times you can steal a gift back and forth. And so there's always very coveted gifts, and there's always silly gifts that no one really wants, and usually something with chocolate or food for my dad. Um, and so these are holiday traditions and family traditions. And so it's going to be interesting to go back to the lake somewhere we haven't been in 10 years and to have a little celebration together and in memory of my father.
Well, and to think about it as kind of the wrap up of this is it doesn't matter when Thanksgiving is or when Christmas is. It's when you spend time together with each other, you
And
know.
that's what it really was about for us, is that
That
family time.
so hello, this is Don,
And this is Gina with Focused Healthy Family.
and you've got the script over there.
Oh, this is podcast number 144. And today we're talking about Thanksgiving because as we air this, it's Thanksgiving. Um, and so let's talk about Thanksgiving, says the cat.
Well, the one thing I thought about, since we are talking about this in in our way of doing business, is talking about how you can do it better for seniors to start
Hmm,
out with. And I thought I came up with some thoughts this morning, and I was going to run them past you and have you kind of add into what your
sure.
thoughts are about it, and then we can talk about our own thanks, how we're thankful for ourselves and for what's going on for us.
Okay. Just letting my daughter know that
You're in the
about her
middle of
our flight information. She flies in tonight. So,
so
seniors and the holidays in general for seniors.
yep. So the first thing they talked about is a warm house and um, making it warm for everybody in it, but also for the seniors. They talked about, and I don't know if this is right or not, but they talked about the heat in the having enough heat in the building, but then they talked about having everybody have clothing, have enough clothing on, and it didn't make sense. They were talking about heating, then talking about, so I didn't quite get that, but
For the
what's the
most part, seniors tend to um, get cold easily. There are exceptions, but a lot of times they get cold easily, typically due to their circulation not being as good. And so it sounds like having it a warm enough temperature that they're comfortable.
I guess getting everybody else in their own clothing. And anyway, let's go on. Uh,
Whatever.
um, they also talked about when you're bringing a senior a couple different things. One is, do they need to speak louder? Do you need to let your guests know that they're deaf in one ear or whatever?
Yes, please do speak louder for me.
Well, yeah, you can anybody can fill that spot. Um, but they also talked a little bit later in the idea of somebody that is dealing with mental issues, whether that's
Cognitive dysfunction.
overwhelming or
Mm-hmm.
underwhelming with
Mm-hmm.
that person. So probably kind of talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I remember the year when we were doing White Elephant, my dad kind of moved his chair and kind of sat further back from the circle. And that I realized that year that cognitively this was a little challenging for him. And it was a little more difficult for him to participate and just that sense of being overwhelmed, because you've got five kids, me and my brother and sister, and it just the amount of noise and laughing and jokes, I just remember that year that he kind of sat more back to the side. And, of course, we included him and made sure to bring him a gift. And I remember we typically tried to, sometimes we gave him Halloween candy. Um, and yeah, it just no realizing that can be overwhelming. It also reminds me of, it might not have been the holidays, but one time my dad was in rehab. I think it was in the summer, and we all got together and we went down there. We spent several hours together, and that was a lot for my dad.
Wasn't it the next day kind of,
He was agitated
yeah,
and just, he enjoyed it in the moment. And then yet afterwards, it was frustrating to him. And I'm sure I know in the last year, if my sister or my brother came down, my dad would think, okay, this is a gathering. Where are we going? He would ask, whose house are we going to? Where are we going now? Thinking, and he sees his other kids who he doesn't normally see very often, just wanting to know more about that gathering. But
yeah,
we learned from that one experience that summer, we would visit him in smaller groups of people, to make it less overwhelming for him and to be able to, you know, um, yeah.
yeah. Um, when they talk about food and, things, well, first off, they talk, a big part of it is talking about the dietary issue of an elderly person. It may not be the same. It may be on special diet. It may be less sugar, things like that. So keeping that, you know, it's, you think about turkey, you get the big turkey in for the holidays. Well, they may need that cut down into smaller pieces because it having to chew or things like that.
Well, also
Um,
keeping in mind somebody either maybe they don't have enough teeth or they have swallowing issues, things like nuts and celery and things that are crunchy and more difficult to chew in, one of your favorite side dishes might need to be modified or so, knowing, being aware, yeah, what do they have any issues? Do they have any swallowing restrictions?
we had
My
that.
dad was on thickened liquids. Someone, as they get older, if they've had different conditions that affect the muscles that are involved in swallowing, can make it easier for them to get what's called aspiration pneumonia, where your fluids go down into your trachea instead of your esophagus, so going to your lungs instead of your stomach. And the bacteria can cause infection and can cause pneumonia. And so being aware, um, do they have those restrictions? How can we, if it help them feel included, what can they enjoy still?
Well, they
And
talk about bringing some of their favorite foods that they could eat if they, if they are having those issues, still bringing something that they can enjoy while they're there.
or maybe they used to be the host of the meal and maybe they had favorite dishes they made. Maybe they'd be willing to, if you can have them come to your house and, let's make, whatever, the pie you always made or the sweet potato casserole, and, you know, have them kind of instruct you. Maybe they're not physically able to help any, but they can be in charge, or maybe they can. Maybe they can do some simple parts of the task. Maybe like doing this with a child, it takes longer, but having that moment with them, having that time to interact and participate in that activity. Decorating cookies can be a fun, simple thing to do. Um, so they feel included, even
Mm.
though they might be limited. Or maybe you're sitting at the table decorating cookies. and maybe they're just eating them, but that they're there,
They're
that they're
there.
included, that you could tell stories, um, from their past, or maybe they are able to, share stories of their childhood, right? We have some of us have parents that are baby boomers or older, and sharing what Christmases were like for them growing up, um, and hearing those stories.
Well, yeah, they talk about that, uh, telling, sharing stories like you just talked about. So that's good. And they talked about games too. We like to, a lot of times, I know, uh, for us, we like to play games. And so, but also keeping in mind with somebody like that, that they may not be able to get into all the games that you have, but that you may want to think about something a little more simple, maybe like bingo or word puzzles or something where that they could kind of play into themselves.
Yeah, I know my dad, big card player. I mean, he taught the kids to play poker. We played canasta games, all kinds of card games growing up. And as he got older, I got an Uno deck, and because it was a simpler card game. And my
Hmm.
dad had played it, before. And so just colors and numbers, very bright, and so he could enjoy that card game. We could still enjoy something together.
When they talk about also about even though Thanksgiving isn't really the big time for it, but thankful gifts. When you're talking about having somebody from your past that you can what
The
you
cat
can
is licking my jeans.
oh
I don't know why.
uh, but having some maybe some thankful gifts of something. Well, like your mom's been passing out lately, things that she sees in in her household that she thinks about us with. They're not something she bought, but there's something
She downsized
she downsized.
from
Yes,
her large home to a two-bedroom apartment at the independent living community. And so yeah, she's as we were cleaning out stuff, I'd be like, "Oh, so and so would like that." She's like, "Oh, I'll, wrap it up for them for a Christmas gift." And
yeah.
I remember I took a bunch of her holiday stuff that she was going to get rid of, because it's like, okay, now, we might have the holidays together at my house, and I want to be able to continue those traditions and just have those memories around.
Well, then they also mentioned the idea of, well, the one other thing is they had talked about if you need to, inviting an aide or somebody that could help getting somebody in and out of your house if you can't handle it yourself, which we've kind of learned a little bit of that ourselves just recently, in helping somebody to get to the things they need to get to.
The other idea, and I got this from a patient over the weekend, um, their loved one doesn't easily transfer in and out of a chair. So getting in and out of a car would be really difficult. But they make transport vans that have a lift on the back. So someone in a wheelchair, it's real easy. The lift comes out, raises them up, strap them into the back of this van. And so this one family, they want to have grandma there with them. And the companies that operate those vans are not operating on Thanksgiving Day, the Friday after, or the weekend. So they're getting together on Wednesday and having their Thanksgiving when she can be there with them. And, realizing, okay, can we adjust the time? Or if you have family in different places, being able to celebrate on a different day than a traditional day, to have family time together.
Yeah, they talk about that too. If one of the people in your group can't make it to a holiday presentation, is to take some time, wrap up some of the different things from the day or something, and bring it to that person to help
Mm-hmm.
them out.
Yeah, yeah, bringing them a meal um, is, yeah, another way of doing that.
That's it on this list. I also looked up, I never knew, I always thought Thanksgiving was a specific to the US, but many countries suggest have their own Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I mean, Canada, Germany, even the United Kingdom and Japan, which United Kingdom, I was like, does that make sense? Because
Well, there celebrations around a different kind. I mean, I know
it's
Canada.
it's really around their first harvest. It's really around a religious or that kind of uh, belief in the first harvest or the what they consider the first harvest.
The first or the last of the fall or the
I don't know that. I didn't look that up. I didn't get far enough into it. It's like there's a lot to go through to kind of figure out like when and all this, but that it's all it might be around the last. I'll throw that away now.
I don't know, I'm just thinking about in the fall and as far
Yeah,
as yeah,
which do
having
you celebrate? That it could be the last one. Yeah.
and just looking at different traditions and yeah, the idea of kind of rethinking holidays too. I know several people who do not celebrate Thanksgiving. The traditional Thanksgiving story that is told in the United States. Um, we know well now that it is not based in much truth. And I'll just leave it at that. But I'm learning this from the younger generation of, how things got whitewashed to what really happened at that time. And so recognizing um, the negative aspects of our past and maybe, reframing, renaming like we did. It's for us, it's always been about just a time we could get together and be a family together and just celebrate. So, you know, creating your own traditions, your own
Um,
time of thanks. Um, I was looking up some fun facts about the pardoning of the turkey, which many of us have heard about. And I found an article from PBS. Apparently, Truman was the first president to receive a turkey from the National Turkey Federation in 75 years ago. But there's no record of a pardon happening at that time. Truman instead quipped that the birds could come in handy for Christmas dinner. Um, so the question was, who was the first president to save a turkey? And people say that it was Honest Abe Lincoln. His young son Tad begged for the bird's life. So the Christmas turkey became a pet. And President John F. Kennedy was the first to spare the Thanksgiving bird in 1963, despite a sign hanging around the turkey's neck that read, "Good eating, Mr. President." Apparently, he sent the bird back to the farm. There was no official pardon for Richard Nixon's turkeys, but they were spared from scandal and the table and
Man,
gifted to a nearby petting zoo. But it was Ronald Reagan who carved out a spot in history by being the first to use the word pardon when talking turkey in 1987. The tradition became formalized in 1989 with President George H.W. Bush, um, that he, you know, made it official, the pardoning of the turkey. So because of that, it has become a White House ritual now and a tradition. Um, which, there's just fun, different things out there that exist.
I was gonna look up. I forgot about like when did the Macy Day parade start?
Oh, yeah, parades are another big festivity of the holidays. And I know there's one happening in our town with a Christmas tree lighting. That's another big celebration that's come about. And
I'm just trying to. 2026 will be the 100th birthday of Macy's. So you go back to 1926, I guess, is when.
wow,
Hmm,
a long time.
yes. So so what are you grateful for on this wonderful this Thanksgiving Day?
Um, I am grateful that our daughter lives home again and that our son lives very close by with his partner and that we can get together. Um, and that we're all here. That Don, that you are here with us for another holiday. um, which almost didn't happen. And um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm just grateful for family being able to get together. And I also last night we went and had dinner with my mom, and the kids helped her get Christmas lights and put them out on her balcony. And watching our oldest and our youngest together, having fun, putting up the lights and laughing and joking together. That always warms my heart to see our kids interacting and goofing around with each other, just knowing how valuable that sibling
Mm.
relationship is. And you, Don?
Well, of course, I'm happy to be here too, because, like you said, it was one that wasn't sure was going to happen. Um, I'm also happy that being around my family, because that's the whole crux of it, is all of us together. That's what makes it so special, and especially with all the stuff around outside of us, it's so nice to have a family that sticks together, that loves to be around each other, playing games and all of those. Those are my fun. The As much as sometimes I don't always get into it as much as they might think, I do really enjoy that and listen, are and there for that. And I'm also still happy that, and this goes a little further, but in my extension of family, my extended family is still pretty much around me, and don't always know how far that's going to go sometimes with my extended family. So I'm happy to that my sister's still around and my brother Vernon's still around, things like that that are very happy for me to be. As much as I don't see them very much, it's still nice to know that they're still around.
You can still talk to them on the phone, and you did get to go visit them back over the summer.
Yeah, yeah, which was good.
I have one more piece of gratitude. In case you don't know, Don had a heart attack and then a stroke a month ago. And if you've listened to our podcasts over the past month, Don, the first couple, Don really didn't speak or say much. And just noticing how fluid you are in your speech, and there's only occasional misword, and how much easier it is for you talking as we're recording these podcasts, Don. I'm just so grateful for your recovery, that you are improving and being able to do what you love again, speaking, and that you're going to be able to start working with your clients again.
Yeah, that I start on that hopefully on Monday, so that would be good. And yeah, it is, and to go through it as kind of quickly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I still worry still a little bit about my physical health as far as really building myself back up. But even that I think is coming around pretty strong. So I it makes me think about why I'm still here. What uh, this is the third time here in a way. I know that only two of these were heart attacks, but that open heart surgery was a lot, and to still be around for it tells me there's something else here for me. And so I want to try to take advantage of that and use that. And I don't know what that is. I'm contemplating it all the time as far as why I'm still here and w what this is about and what am I supposed to do with this? Am I doing something with this? All of that. So it's good to be around. Just kind of questioning a little bit about, okay, what am I supposed to do here?
Very thought provoking thoughts to wrap up our podcast. And if you want to know what Don's here for, stick around. Join us next Thursday as we air these podcasts. Look back at the past almost 3 years of podcasts that we have created around the topics of parenting our children, our parents, and ourselves. You can search all the different categories of things that we've talked about. You can learn more about EFT and the work Don does and is getting back to.
Yeah, we've got coming up. we've got EFT sessions. I've set them up for December 11th at 7 p.m. and December 18th at 12 noon. We also have Gina's got her own little special thing that she likes to do with their Ask the OT. We have that set up for December 2nd at 7 o'clock and December 11th at 12 o'clock. So, we're glad you joined us for this, and we hope that you can pass this along to somebody that you know that may be in this place that we're at, or maybe not. Maybe they just want to hear some good talk.
Well,
But
and navigating family life in general,
yeah,
whether you're dealing with aging parents or not, at some point, hopefully, you will be dealing with aging parents, or maybe you yourself are the aging parent and thinking about this impact on you and your children or your family. And, we've had so many different fun speakers on here. So be sure to check those podcasts out as well as the ones with Don and I babbling back and forth, talking about different topics.
and if you're out there listening to us in whatever podcast you're at, think about one, leaving us a comment. We'd love to hear the comments. We'd love to understand what you're going through and whether it's a question or if it's just laying out what's going on for you. You can also give us a like or a subscribe. You can find out more about us at Facebook at Focus Healthy Family, Instagram at Focus Healthy Family, and YouTube. We also, this comes out both audio and video, so you can watch us on YouTube. And you can find out all the information about us at www.focushealthyfamily.com, and the podcast is focushealthyfamilypodcast.com. And remember this, how you speak to your children and your loved ones today shapes their future and yours.